Welcome, everybody, to Midweek Meetings, Episode 10. We are back with another week. I am KnockdownNico with the camera alongside Pr3ssix.
What's up?
Week 9 has concluded. I would say, I say week 9, there were some surprises, but most of it was to be expected. We're going to recap a couple of the games. We're going to go through some headlines, and being that today, a couple hours ago actually, the trade deadline just finished. So the trade deadline is gone. We're going to be going through a bunch of those headlines, including a bunch of those trades. We'll probably do some rapid fire with those. We'll get into our predictions, our auto lock, fantasy this week, and then our fun question to end off the episode. We're going to start off with our first recap game. The Panthers, I put it in quotes, but they upset the Saints.
Yeah, we see how this ended for the Saints. I mean, they got Dennis Allen fired, so rip Dennis Allen. Um, yeah, but I think for the Panthers side, this is kind of a huge morale thing for them, especially for Bryce Young. I think there's a big boost in his ego, and he has a chance to continue this momentum against the Giants this week. And it's a pretty favorable matchup overall, I feel like. Knowing that the Giants are 2-7 actually, with the same record as the Panthers going into this week. So I think this is good momentum for Bryce Young, especially. I don't expect anything out of this Panthers season, let's just be clear. But if anything, morale booster for Bryce Young, and I hope we get to see him either stay in Carolina or get different opportunities in other teams around the league because of this. So yeah, that's about my only takeaway from this game.
Yeah, I sent you this stat, I think, the other day. The Panthers, they became the first team to win a game with under 250 yards gained, 0 takeaways, and allowing 425 yards or more, which is kind of crazy. I mean, they only won by 1 point. Like you said, they got Dennis Allen fired, which we will get into later on in this episode. But, I mean, I don't think a lot of people were expecting the Panthers to win this game, especially after how the Saints beat them the first in week 1 of the season. They absolutely dismantled this team. Derek Carr threw a hospital pass. We'll get into that as well. But, I mean, the fact that the Saints lost this game, Alvin Kamara had over 150 yards rushing, I think close to or over 200 yards all purpose, didn't even score, and they lost this game. I mean, like, we always get on the Saints for, starting off the year hot and then they slowly decline, but this has been worse than the slow decline. This is, been the bottom of the bottom. Also, Derek Carr has become the first quarterback in NFL history to lose to 31 teams. He has a chance to make it 32 teams. They do play the Raiders this season. I think it's week 17. So, we might be witnessing double history, not in a good way, for the Saints. Next game we're going to recap is the Cowboys. They lost again to the Falcons this time. Is the season officially over for the Cowboys?
Look, I don't think the Cowboys season is officially over. All right. They still were without Micah Parsons on that defensive side. And I think really truly that defense is way worse without Micah Parsons. So personally, I think they still have a chance, especially at a wild card spot. The division with the Commanders sitting at 7-2 and the Eagles at 6-2, I believe. It's kind of a hard division for them, especially with their current record, to get back in the race for that division lead. So I don't see them in the division conversation, but I definitely see them in a wild card conversation. Um, and I think, you know, another thing from that game, they lost Dak for at least probably 3 weeks. I've heard rumors that they might put him on IR. I'm pretty sure he's not on IR as of right now, but that's also a huge blow. So I think these next 3 to 4 weeks will really tell for the Cowboys if they have a chance at all. Look, if they win 3 of the 4 of their next 3 out of the 4 of their next games. I think they're still in the playoff hunt. But say they drop the next 3, I think they're done for the season. But as of right now, season's still on. Defense is getting healthier. Offense took a step back, so we'll see how that shakes out. But not out of the hunt yet.
I think I said this last week. This game was going to come down to how big of a game CeeDee Lamb was going to have, and he did not have a big game. Granted, the Cowboys only lost by 6 points, but I mean, I'm pretty sure one of their scores was in like, under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. This Cowboys team, I don't know where to put this Cowboys team because we'll get into it. They traded for a wide receiver. We'll get into that later because it's very questionable what they gave up for that as well. But at the same time, they traded for a wide receiver, so it seems like they want to make a push for at least a wild card spot. But then you have Dak Prescott, who's injured. He's going to be out for at least 2 weeks, if not, maybe a week or two more. So at the same time, it's like I don't know where to put this Cowboys team, if they're kind of just chalking the season or they're still trying to compete for a wild card spot. Also, I think CeeDee Lamb was partially injured for this game or that game against the Eagles or the Falcons as well. He's considered week to week as of a day ago. Is looking like he'll play next week, but I just don't know. It doesn't seem like there's an identity with this Cowboys team. They beat some good opponents, right? I mean, they beat the Steelers, but then their other 2 wins are against the Giants and the Browns, and then they've lost to some good teams as well. So it's just kind of like there's no identity for this team, and the moves that they've made, at least at the trade deadline, and with the injuries that they've had, it kind of just puts this in a precarious situation of who knows what they want to do. And I think as well, you go back to not signing Derrick Henry. That is a huge blow as well for this team because apparently Derrick Henry was not worth the money he wanted or whatever that situation was. Jerry Jones did not want to sign him. Going back on that Falcons game, though, I mean, the Falcons locked down CeeDee Lamb. That was pretty much their whole offense. The only other person that had over 3 receptions that wasn't a running back was Jake Ferguson. Otherwise, they were held in check pretty well. Drake London got injured, but I think he'll play next week. But I mean, the Falcons are looking good. I think Kirk Cousins has 100% elevated this team. I want to say Drake London had 5 touchdown catches in his first 2 years in Atlanta. He's had 5 this season so far. I think Darnell Mooney as well has had the most touchdowns in a season that he's ever had with Atlanta currently. So this team's looking good for Atlanta. They're probably going to easily win this division. It'll just depend on whether they're, I guess, a 2 seed or a 3 seed in this division or in the playoffs. Because right now, I mean, they could end up falling to 3, but I don't see them being a 4 seed. But there's a potential they could be a 2 seed. All right, the last game we're going to recap is Josh Allen. He owns the Dolphins, but this is more on have the Bills officially won the AFC East? I know we're only 9 games in, but it seems like they have.
Oh yeah, they 100% have won the AFC East. It's not even close. Pats have looked awful. Jets, they don't have a chance to win the division, and Miami definitely doesn't have a chance to win the division. So yeah, I mean, Bills, I mean, they might as well just start resting their starters at this point. Honestly, like it's so out of reach for the other teams in this division. But yeah, Bills look really good. When they have their whole team on the same page and they're playing complementary football, this team is a force to be reckoned with. Um, I would argue they're probably, mm, I would, I'll put them in the Super Bowl conversation, but I feel like there's just a tiny step below Kansas City and Baltimore. But I think they can figure it out, and I think they're a gritty team. Josh Allen is a very talented player. I think he can lead this team to a Super Bowl. And I like the way the Bills are playing football, man. They've looked good as of late, and excited to see what they do this season.
Yeah, the Bills have looked good. Obviously, if Josh Allen limits the turnovers, which I think he's thrown interceptions in back-to-back games, I could be wrong. But as long as he doesn't turn the ball over too much, this team looks good. You know, this the offense or the defense, gave up 27 points this game, so maybe a little bit of questions on the defensive side, but I think they're going to go ahead and get some players back towards the end of this season on the defensive side. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I wouldn't say we saw it, but we kind of saw this Bills offense, even though they scored a lot, on how they were essentially when they didn't have Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper didn't play with that wrist injury, but in a sense, it looked like that Bills offense, before they acquired him, which was a lot of, kind of running the football. They didn't really run the football good enough this week, but, a lot of not necessarily deep threats or shots down the field, a lot of short passes and everything. So I think Amari Cooper elevates this team. So once he gets back on the field, I think this offense will be better. As long as the defense can, hold opponents down, which the Dolphins have a pretty good offense, with Tua and everything coming back. So as long as they can hold down, some of these bigger opponents that they're going to face, they face the Chiefs, the Niners, and the Lions coming up. So as long as the defense can hold up, I think this offense, especially with Amari Cooper, can go ahead and, go punch for punch with any other offense mostly in the league. And for the division, yeah, I mean, they have this division wrapped up. They're 4 games above the Jets. They're 3-0 in this division already. So I don't see them losing this division at all. The question will be, do they get a 2 seed or a 3 seed? Chiefs will probably get the 1 seed. And then I think it's going to come down to the Bills or whoever wins the AFC North, essentially, to get that 2 seed. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. Those are the games we're going to recap this week. We're going to move on to the headlines. We got a lot of headlines. This first one isn't really too much of a headline, but Garrett Wilson and Devonta Smith had some insane catches this year. So which one was better?
I'm gonna have to go with Garrett Wilson here. I mean, I didn't get to watch the Devontae Smith one in person, but the Garrett Wilson one was insane. I think that has a chance at being considered better than the OBJ catch. All right, that catch was crazy. Devontae Smith's was pretty good too, but I think Garrett Wilson's was next level.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, dude, watching that Garrett Wilson one, like I was like, no way he caught that. And then I'm like, no way that's not a touchdown. Like I thought that was a touchdown at first. Obviously got overturned to being a touchdown, but I was like, I mean, that catch was ridiculous. I thought he pushed off a little bit. I thought they were going to throw a flag for, maybe him pushing off. You could argue that, but I mean, that catch was insane. Devonta Smith's catch was insane as well, but I think you got to give it to Garrett Wilson on this one because that was insane. That's probably the catch of the decade. I don't think we're gonna see one for the next, the rest of this decade that can top that. That was an insane catch. Moving on, we kind of discussed this a little bit, but Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb injuries. Dak's going to be out for a few weeks, and CeeDee Lamb is hoping, or most likely, to play against the Eagles.
Yeah. Big injuries for the Cowboys here. Like I kind of said, they need to win, in my opinion, 3 of their next 4 games. So yeah, those are big blows to the offense, especially. And even this offense wasn't functioning very well either. They've had no run attack all year, so if they find a way to get it done, like I said, they have a playoff chance. But my guess is that they don't find a way to get it done without Dak and CD. and well, even an injured CD. He's not going to be 100% the rest of the year probably, which is just hard to deal with. So, yeah, I mean, big blow for the Cowboys. Cowboys fans, I don't think it's your year, as always.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb, it's just a shoulder injury. It says he's week to week. It's looking like he'll play this week. So I think he's just going to gut it out the rest of this season. Dak, I mean, he's going to miss multiple weeks with the hamstring. The question is just whether they put him on injured reserve or not. If he goes on IR, it's going to be a minimum 4 weeks. So we'll have to see what they do. Um, I mean, I think we've been in this situation where Dak Prescott has gotten hurt before, was out for some weeks, and Cooper Rush came in. And, he won some games. Like, they played good, but that was with, in my opinion, better Dallas Cowboys teams. So I don't think this is going to happen again. Cooper Rush comes in and he's going to win, however many weeks Dak Prescott's out, win 3/4 or 2/3 of these games that, he's going to play in. I just don't think they have the team for that. So, the Dak injury, I feel like it's a big loss. It's a big loss to lose your starting quarterback. The CD injury, I mean, like if that injury gets worse, I mean, they're really thin at wide receiver, as we'll get to. They traded for a wide receiver, but I don't think who they traded for is a wide receiver number one. So if CD goes down and then you're going to have Dak out for the couple weeks as well, this is a tough situation for the Cowboys to be in and Cowboys fans. And, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, how the season plays out, what route they decide to go, if they decide to tank a little bit, maybe get a better draft pick, or they make a push for that wild card spot. The biggest news, oh wait, no, I skipped one. We're going to go over to Chris Olave, another concussion, an absolute hospital pass by Derek Carr. And I mean, I feel like we're almost on the same boat with Chris Olave concussions as we were with Tua.
Yeah, it's a weird situation there. Olave's brother, I believe, came out and said that he wants him out of New Orleans, which is just kind of something to put into perspective there. So, you know, sorry for Chris Olave, man. Sucks to have Derek Carr as your quarterback and have that happen to you so back to back like that. But yeah. Um, Another big blow for the Saints, whose season is basically over. They can look towards next year, I guess, with a new head coach. So, Saints fans, something to look forward to. You have a new head coach next year. And yeah, that's about all the positivity for Saints fans, though. So, keep dreaming.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his second concussion of the season. And then I think he was out for another injury and he just came back from before this one. And I think he had a couple concussions in 2022 as well. I don't think he had any. So we're kind of almost on that same boat with Tua. Right? I don't think. I mean, Michael Thomas says it's the quarterback. Chris Olave's brother says it's the quarterback. So, maybe it's a Derek Carr thing, but I mean, hopefully he gets better soon. I don't know if he plays another snap this season. If he does, it's going to be like, the last game. Let's see how long he's out for, first off. Second off, I mean, they're essentially, again, down to, just almost like just practice squad or third stringers for the wide receiver core like they were when Spencer Rattler was quarterback. You have, Shaheed's out for the season. Now you have Chris Olave out again with an injury. So they're down to like Alvin Kamara essentially, and that's it. And if Alvin Kamara gets, bottled up in the run game or something, or in the pass game, I mean, this offense, we've seen it before, just has doesn't have the playmakers to, move the ball down the field remotely. So this Saints season is over. I don't see how it's not. They're not making the playoffs. They're not making a wild card spot. So I guess it's just going to be, where do they, how much do they tank for a draft pick, and what route do they go for that, and who's going to be their next head coach, which will flow into that topic now of Dennis Allen has been fired after starting 2-0 and losing 7 straight.
Yeah, I think we all kind of expected this coming into the season. I think we knew that Dennis Allen would be on a short leash if things got out of hand in New Orleans, and they definitely did get out of hand. So, yep. Couldn't say that this is a surprise. This is definitely an expected move here for the Saints. And like I said, Saints fans, you can look forward to getting a new head coach. Maybe that'll bring some change in the organization. So that's about all.
Yeah, I think most of this falls on Dennis Allen. Although a couple of those games where he had like Spencer Rattler starting, and like just like your wide receiver 3 and 4, like your wide receiver 1 and 2s. I don't think you can really blame Dennis Allen on that part, for the injuries. But the rest of it, I mean, 7 straight losses is not going to cut it in the NFL. People didn't like him anyway, after the first like year or so in New Orleans. And he always had that trend, the Saints started out hot and then they would slowly fall and fall and fall. And they'd either end up around, that even 500 mark, or they would just not be good or competitive. It's just been downhill since, Sean Payton left, Drew Brees left, and yeah, I'm not sure who the interim head coach is currently, but we'll see how they do. See if the Saints want to re-sign them as potentially the head coach, or if they're just going to go ahead look at the market for head coaches when that comes around. All right, the trade deadline ended, about 3 hours ago. So there's a ton of trades. We're gonna do this a little rapid fire. Maybe like in 1 to 2 sentences on what you think of the trade and everything. So we're gonna first start out with Mike Williams gets traded to the Steelers. The Jets get a 5th round pick from that.
Win-win for both sides. Mike Williams will be better utilized in the Pittsburgh offense, I think, than he was in New York.
I agree. I mean, I called it as soon as Devontae Adams got traded. I was saying Mike Williams is getting traded 100%. He got traded. This is good for him. Maybe we'll see more action. It just didn't seem like he and Aaron Rodgers and that offense, maybe it was the playbook, maybe it was his chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, didn't seem like it clicked. So good for Mike Williams. He's going to a playoff contending team, or at least a wild card contending team, and the Jets get a draft pick out of it. Next is Marshawn Lattimore gets traded to the Commanders. The Commanders also get a 5th round pick. The Saints get a 3rd, 4th, and 6th round pick.
Love this trade for both sides again. Saints rebuilding, need to build for the future. Getting rid of Marshall Lattimore, who deserves a huge contract, should definitely be a priority there. So good move from them. Washington, I think it's a perfect move for them. DB is one of their weaker spots on the field, so he'll definitely fill right in, and he'll be a great asset to his team, who will make a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, the Commanders, like you said, they're probably the weakest part on defense is secondary. So this will help bolster that secondary. Even if the secondary is still a struggle, you're going to have at least one guy that can lock down, that main wide receiver 1 for teams. So that'll help them out a lot in that secondary. And Saints are in rebuild mode, like you said. They get a bunch of draft picks, which is good. And I think they're all for this upcoming draft as well. So, as long as they scout and hopefully the players pan out, they should be in a good spot, to get some good, solid players, which honestly they kind of need it all on all sides. So we'll just have to see how they use those draft picks. Up next, we have Jonathan Mingo gets traded from the Panthers to the Cowboys. The Cowboys get a 7th round pick as well, and the Panthers get a 4th round pick, which I want to say Deontay Johnson went for a 5th round pick, I want to say. So Mingo goes for a better round pick than Deontay Johnson.
Jerry Jones is once again proving why he should not be the GM of this team. And Panthers got a steal here. Mingo was definitely not worth a fourth round pick. I mean, he was under, I think he was like 4 or 5 in the depth chart in Carolina at that point. So yeah, definitely a steal for the Panthers. And yeah, that's about it.
The Panthers absolutely fleeced the Cowboys in this trade. I mean, there's no saying that. A seventh round pick is what it is. Half the time they're mostly special teams or practice squad players. But I mean, Mingo, you know, his career receiving lines through 2 seasons, granted he was with the Panthers, are 55 receptions for 539 yards. Like, he's probably going to end up being wide receiver too. But I just don't know why he was given they gave the Panthers a fourth round pick. The Panthers, for all the bad trades they've done in the past, like this doesn't make up for it, but they got an absolute steal of a pick. So as long as they can hit the nail on the head with whoever they draft, like this is going to be a not so good pick for the Cowboys. But who knows? Maybe Mingo turns out to be a stud next to CeeDee Lamb, gets another opportunity in a better offense, and essentially a better quarterback as well. Khalil Herbert gets traded from the Bears to the Bengals. The Bears got a seventh round pick.
I don't hate it for either team really. Not a big move like some of these other moves. It's kind of a depth kind of move here, especially for the Bengals. Zach Moss went down with an injury, so Khalil Herbert's probably going to be that RB2 and complement to Chase Brown, so good move for them. And I mean, Herbert was getting no production in the Bears offense this year, so Bears basically got in my eyes, a free seventh round pick out of this, so win-win for both sides.
Yeah, Herbert showed signs of potential, but for whatever reason, Chicago, they never seem to play him too much. I don't know if that's just whatever it may be. They never seem to play him too much, or when they do, it always seems to be like a passing down for some reason, and they never throw it to him. So, he gets a better shot, like you said. It's more of, a backup for Chase Brown because Zach Moss got injured. So he'll definitely see more playing time. The Bears get a draft pick out of this. Maybe they find somebody, an offensive lineman that ends up being insane. But yeah, I mean, this is just a draft pick who will probably be a depth player, or, special teamer. All right, up next, we have Zadarius Smith to the Lions. The Lions also get a seventh round pick. The Browns get a 2025 fifth and 2026 sixth round pick.
Um, you know, Detroit needed a pass rusher after the loss of Aiden Hutchinson for the rest of the season. So, in that sense, it's a good move. I feel like they give up too much for Zadarius Smith, though. I mean, this guy is old. He's been in the league for forever. But I guess really they just needed that position, and I think they're trying to make their Super Bowl run this year. So I think it's probably a good move in the grander scheme of things. So yeah, good move for Lions. On the other side of the ball too, not a bad move either. Get some draft capital there. So yeah, good move for both sides.
It is 100% a move, for that Aiden Hutchinson injury. They do give up some like a solid two mid round picks, but like you said, I think this is the year they're fully pushing for that playoff run, that Super Bowl run, and we'll see what the Aiden Hutchinson timeline is. So if they make it to the Super Bowl, and Hutchinson is cleared and able to play, you're gonna have Hutchinson on one side, Zadarius Smith on another side. Like that's gonna be pretty scary, even though Zadarius Smith is kind of getting old. But I like this. Hopefully it'll help bolster that pass rush for the Lions, which has definitely gotten weaker since Aiden Hutchinson has not been on the field. The Browns, they're kind of in a semi-rebuild mode in a sense. They traded away some players, so getting some solid mid-round picks is definitely good. One for this year and then one for next year. They can always use those to trade around and everything. Up next, Preston Smith gets traded to the Steelers. The Packers get a 7th-round pick out of it.
As a Packers fan, I've been seeing a lot of things about this trade. Um, it's kind of a weird one because people were expecting the Packers to make a trade here too, with trading away Preston Smith, but they didn't, and they basically just got a 7th round pick out of this at the trade deadline when kind of an edge player was kind of a need going into the longer term scheme of things. Preston Smith was on his last year of his deal with Green Bay, and so he's an old veteran that they probably were not going to re-sign. So the Steelers are trying to make another run, I guess. And he kind of bolsters that defensive room, especially he has 2.5 sacks on the year, a lot of pressures, so he's kind of a nice complement to like T.J. Watt and Highsmith. So I like the move for the Steelers, not so much for the Packers. I think we could have gotten more value out of Smith. Maybe a 5th round pick would have been nice to see, but yeah, I think the Packers were thinking more long term. They just didn't want to take on his contract next year. So this was a perfect opportunity to dish him out at the trade deadline. And I just wish they got more out of it. But yeah, that's about it.
There were a lot of rumors going around the Packers about how they were going to trade for a cornerback. And then once Marshawn Lattimore got traded, there were still some stuff about them trading for a cornerback, just not Lattimore. Ultimately, they traded Preston Smith. I think it's a good trade for the Steelers. They get another solid defensive player who Pittsburgh, one of the best or the best defense in the NFL, especially up front. So that's only going to bolster it. They're definitely looking to make a deep playoff run, especially if Russell Wilson keeps playing the way he has these first couple of games he's played. They're definitely looking to make a deep playoff run. Packers get a 7th-round pick. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Preston Smith is worth more than a 7th-round pick, but, maybe they just wanted to get rid of Preston Smith contract, whatever it may be. So they'll have, an extra draft pick coming up. Our final big trade, Tre'Davious White goes to the Ravens. He gets traded to the Ravens. The Ravens also get a 7th-round pick out of this, and the Rams get a 2026 7th-round pick.
Yeah, I think this is another move where the Rams just are not in a position to pay Tre'Davious White. So, the Ravens, they're also looking to make a Super Bowl run. He's a pretty good player to add to that secondary who's already really good. So I think it's just going to bolster this team anymore. Great move for the Ravens. I think it's a steal for the Ravens. I don't think the Rams got any value out of this at all. Excited to see what he does in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good trade for the Ravens, although they do have him as the second right cornerback in the depth chart. But, even like however much he's going to play, it's a solid pickup for the Ravens. He can definitely teach and mentor Nate Wiggins, on how to play the position as well. He's got the experience, the veteran experience as well to, teach him. So that's definitely good for them. Like you said, it bolsters that really good secondary already. The Rams, yeah, I think the Rams got fleeced. They're probably just trying to get rid of him, for that contract situation, like you said. So 7th-round pick, but they also gave up a 7th-round pick as well. So, you can essentially cancel the picks, and essentially you could say they almost gave up Tre'Davious White for free, essentially. So, and to a playoff contending team, which is good. But now, the Rams are in a peculiar situation where they're second in the NFC West. They have a potential to win the division, essentially, with the way that division is going. But you just lost, arguably, your best defensive player or your best defensive corner on the team. So we'll just have to see how this plays out for the Rams in the long run. Maybe they're not expecting to make a playoff run with the way, I guess their schedule goes or anything. So we'll just have to see how everything turns out essentially, but for the Rams. But for the Ravens, this is a very good trade for them. I do like it. Those are our headlines for this week. Like I said, the trade deadline happened, so a lot of trades happening right at the deadline, and a couple other big significant headlines as well. But we now are going to move into our predictions for this week. I think I went 10-4 this week, or 11-4. I have to check as I pull it up.
Yeah, I had a pretty good week. I went 12-3. I've been on a heater these last like 3 to 4 weeks. I've been pretty solid, so hoping to continue it this week.
Yeah, I went 11-4 last week. Could have been better. Could have been worse. But we're going to start out with Thursday night football. Yeah. Week 10 predictions. Thursday night football. We have the Bengals at the Ravens.
I think we got to start this out with a Ravens victory. Won't be a close game here. Well, I take that back. Might be a close game, but Ravens have been dominant this year, and I think Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are going to be too much for the Bengals defense to handle. This Bengals defense has not been good all year, and I think Cincy needs to score on like every single drive if they want to stay in this game. So might end up being a shootout, but I think Baltimore will end up winning this game.
I'm taking the Ravens. Lamar's been a little banged up. I think he's still a little banged up, but he's expecting to play. He didn't practice today, I don't think, from what I saw. But the last time these two teams played, it was 41-38 in OT. And the play of the game, or you could say the play that made the difference in the overtime, was a Derrick Henry 51-yard run in overtime. Although the Bengals did miss a field goal in this game in overtime, and the Ravens did fumble the ball in overtime as well. So I don't think we get as high scoring of a game this time, but I do think the Ravens are going to pull it out. There's a potential T. Higgins doesn't play again as well. He didn't practice this week either. So I think that affects Cincinnati as well, and I'm going to take the Ravens on this one. Up next, we have an international game. I think this one is in Germany. The New York Giants at the Panthers.
I don't think anyone will be watching this game based on the matchup and the time, but you know, I'm gonna have to roll with the Giants here. I think their defense is still very good and underrated, and I think Tyron Tracy is gonna have a great game against the Panthers, who have been really bad against the run this year. One of the worst in the league, I believe. So for that reason, I'm gonna take the Giants. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's about it.
I'm taking the Giants. I mean, they have the worst run defense in the league, I'm pretty sure. They gave over 150 yards to Alvin Kamara last week. I think Tyrone Tracy is going to have a huge game. And I think this defense, like you said, their defense is a little better than, the Carolina team. We'll see how. I mean, this is an international game, though, so this could get wacky, but I'm still expecting Tyrone Tracy to have a monster game on the ground, especially with how bad that run defense is for Carolina. And I mean, I'm not going to watch this game. I'll be looking at it because I'm starting Tyrone Tracy as 100% this week in fantasy. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel bad for the people over in Germany. I think it is. They got 2-7 New York Giants versus 2-7 Carolina Panthers. I mean, that's going to be something. That's going to be something. Up next, we have New England at Chicago.
Ooh. You know, some may call me crazy, but I was looking at this matchup and I thought, wow, the Patriots have a really good chance in this game because the I don't know what's going on with the Bears, but the last 2 weeks their offense has looked flat. I don't know what it is, but I don't like the Bears. I think they win this week though. It is at home. They're 4-0 at home this year and 0-4 on the road. So I think they're going to continue that trend. Patriots, look, they're just not a great football team to be honest with you. And I wanted to take the Patriots here, but I just can't. I think they really don't stand a chance, and I think the Bears are going to end up winning this game pretty easily at home. Maybe Caleb Williams. Well, Caleb Williams is dealing with an injury. I don't think it's expected to hold him out, but that's just something to watch going into this game. If nothing changes on Caleb Williams' status, I think it's definitely a Bears win. Taking the Bears. Defense is way better than the Pats offense. It should be a blowout.
I'm taking I'm taking the Bears. I don't like either teams in this game, I'm not going to lie, but I do think the Bears have a better defense. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. We saw in week 1 against the Titans, I want to say, they only won that game because they had defensive turnovers or the defense got turnovers, and I think they had a defensive score or two. I feel like it's going to be that type of similar game. The Bears offense recently has been absolutely terrible. I don't know if it's the offensive line. I don't know if it's Caleb Williams. I shared with you highest inaccurate rates for players with 25 plus targets this season. 6 is Rome Odunze, 8 is Keenan Allen, 10 is DJ Moore, and those are 20% or more inaccurate target rates, which is crazy. So I don't like either team in this, but I think the Bears defense is way better, and they're going to be the difference. And they may potentially get another defensive score this game, and that's going to be the difference in this game. It's going to be an ugly game though. Up next, we have Buffalo at Indianapolis.
I like Buffalo. They're rolling. Like we said, they're winning that division easily, and I think this is just gonna be too tough for Flacco here. Flacco didn't look great last week. I don't think he's gonna look any better against the Bills. So, yep, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills.
I'm taking the Bills. Joe Flacco starting the rest of the season from what I saw. Yeah, he didn't look good against Minnesota last week. I think no touchdowns, not even 200 yards passing, and an interception. I think the Bills are going to have a good game, even if Amari Cooper doesn't play this game. Keon Coleman, I think he's questionable, but Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, they're going to have a big game. This Colts team, I say it every week, it's big. They're so prone to giving up big plays, and if Amari Cooper plays this game, I mean, Josh Allen's going to be taking some big shots down the field, and they can win this either way. This game, they can win it with passing. They can win this, through short passing and running the ball. But I just see this being a Buffalo win overall. Up next, we have Denver at Kansas City.
Man, I want someone to beat Kansas City so bad, but I don't think it's gonna happen this week. Denver looked very outmatched against Baltimore this week, and I think it's gonna be the same trend in this game against the Chiefs. Bo Nix is just not prepared to play in Arrowhead, and this should be another blowout, taking the Chiefs.
I'm taking the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Tampa Bay, they put up a fight against Kansas City without Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. Obviously, the coin toss, should they change the rules? Should they not? That's another story for another day. But this Broncos team did not look how I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to be a little more competitive against Baltimore, but they weren't. It was like 41-17, that score or something. The Chiefs are going to win this easily. They're going to go to 9-0. I think I said last week, the only teams that have a chance to beat Kansas City this season are going to be maybe the Texans, Pittsburgh, and the Broncos, but it's going to be week 18 Denver when they're resting their starters. Up next, we have Atlanta at New Orleans.
Orlando or oh my gosh, I can't speak. New Orleans is in shambles right now. All right, no Dennis Allen. This team is lost. They don't even have a goal for the rest of this year. There's tensions in the locker room. They are not winning this game. Atlanta is going to win this game. Not even close. Saints fans might start wearing bags over their heads again. I mean, it's just that point in New Orleans right now. So, yeah, Atlanta Falcons, 100%.
I'm taking Atlanta. I mean, this Atlanta offense is clicking on everything. You know, run pass. Kirk Cousins has definitely helped with this offense. I think, even if Drake London doesn't play, I don't know what his injury status is right now, but he did get injured in that game and he missed, I think, a majority of the second half with a hip injury, I want to say it was. So even if he doesn't play, I think this is still an easy win for the Falcons. Obviously, they don't have Marshawn Lattimore anymore, so, you know, that's going to be a big blow for them in the secondary. And the Saints team is not good. They're going to be without their top two wide receivers for probably like the fourth game this season. It's just not going to be good for Saints fans or the Saints. Atlanta's going to win this game easily. Up next, we have San Francisco at Tampa Bay.
This should be a close game, but I think San Francisco has a slight edge in this game. Okay. I'm not sure what McCaffrey's status is. I've heard rumors that he was trying to play this week. I don't know if that's true or not. But either way, I think San Francisco's coming off a bye week where they got rested. They're somewhat healthy again. And this Bucks team is not healthy. And I think it's going to be a dominant win for the 49ers here. They need this win to get back on track. They're still very easily in the hunt for their division titles. So they want this game. They need this game. This will be a big telltale for the rest of the 49ers season. Bucks, on the other hand, they're just trying to scrape by till they get to their bye week and get healthy. This would be a huge win for them if they can convert it, but I think they will not be able to. So for that reason, I'm voting San Francisco to win this game.
Uh, I'm I'm taking the 49ers. I mean, I think you covered all the points on that. Christian McCaffrey may play, he may not play. We'll have to see on that, but I think they still win this game anyway. They're coming off the bye week, like you said. I still think Kate Otten is going to have a solid game, and this game might be close. I think people were expecting a little bit, you know, more of a dominant win from Kansas City. This game was really close. They played Kansas City really good, obviously, until overtime. First team that gets the ball scores wins pretty much. So, I can see this game being close, but I just feel like, Tampa Bay is a little banged up, like you said. And I think, San Francisco coming off this bye week is just going to, they're going to win this game, especially if Baker Mayfield turns the ball over, even if it's just one time. I feel like that any turnover from Tampa Bay is just going to, halt this, a chance for them to win that game. So I'm taking the Niners. Up next, we have Pittsburgh at Washington.
This is an interesting game. I think this might be the best matchup of the week. It's gonna be a really good game. Um, Pittsburgh's looking good. I feel like Russ has really made that offense look a lot better. Commanders are also looking good. Jaden Daniels looking like the offensive rookie of the year. But I think I'm gonna have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here, all right? And I think this because I think the Steelers defense it's gonna be kind of eye-opening for Jaden Daniels. If you look at his last opponents, other than like let me see. Let me just look at it real quick. I believe if you look at the games the Commanders have played, the defenses they played recently have not been great. The Giants, they've been okay, but the Bears they only scored 18 points. And then you got the Panthers, the Ravens obviously where they lost. But the Browns, Cardinals, Bengals, Giants, Bucks, all those defenses this year have not been that great. And I think this is just a tough matchup for Jaden Daniels and one that he won't win this year, but if they face off next year, I think with a little more experience they win. So I'm gonna take Pittsburgh. I like what they're doing over there, and I think they're gonna be able to get it done.
I'm taking I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're coming off a bye week as well, so they're going to be, they haven't played a game in, a full week. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be ready. Russell Wilson, as long as he's playing how he did the last 2 weeks before that bye week, he's going to be playing good. He's got Mike Williams now as wide receiver 2. I think he's going to play this week instead of, I want to say it was Calvin Austin. So that's going to be more help on the offense. Obviously, this running game for Pittsburgh is going to be solid. If we look at the last couple opponents that the Commanders have played, the Giants had 164 rushing yards against them. DeAndre Swift alone, when they played the Bears, at 129. So this could be a big game for Najee Harris. This could be a big game for Jaylen Warren if he plays. I'm not sure what his status is, but I do think as well, like you said, I do think this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is going to give him a little bit of trouble, especially with TJ Watt coming off the edge. They're just going to need to contain. They're going to need to contain Jaden Daniels and his scrambling ability, which I think they will do. Chicago is I would say, slightly above average defense. They give up over 300 yards passing to him, but the only touchdown was that Hail Mary. So, that's a 50-50 ball essentially, or a 50-50 play. But you get rid of that, the Bears held Washington to only field goals. So, like I said, the Commanders were struggling against good teams to turn those, touchdown or those red zone opportunities or those sides on the other side of the field to get into field goal range. They were kicking field goals instead of making touchdowns. I just feel like this Steelers defense, fresh off a bye week, is going to give them some problems. They may get a lot of yards, Washington, but I'm taking the Steelers in this game. Up next, you have Minnesota at Jacksonville.
I don't think this game will be close, but I think I'm gonna put the Vikings on upset alert. All right. This seems like a game that the Vikings will somehow find a way to lose. But that being said, I'm gonna take the Vikings anyways. They're a way better team than Jacksonville. Jacksonville's kind of done for the season in my opinion. So at this point, they're just playing for reputation. ETN, I think, should be back this week, so that might be a boost for the Jaguars offense, even though he wasn't great before he got injured. But, maybe we see a change in Jaguars offense. Not sure what Brian Thomas' status is, but he's probably good to go. I don't think it'll make much of a difference, though. I like the Vikings here.
I'm taking the Vikings. I mean, the Jaguars put up a little bit of fight, the last couple weeks against, I think it was the Eagles and then the Packers. But in the end, they still lost those games. So I don't think the Jaguars are going to have enough firepower to beat this team. Justin Jefferson is going to give them a hard time. It was hard to say, A.J. Brown got injured in that game. Devonta Smith, had only 87 yards. But, Jalen Hurts was 18 to 24. That's pretty solid. Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions against the Eagles defense, which is not super, super insane. And the Eagles also had 237 yards on the ground. So, Aaron Jones can have a big game. Justin Jefferson can have a big game. I just don't know if the Jaguars offense can essentially keep up with the Minnesota offense if it does go, possession for possession. So I'm taking the Vikings. Up next, we have Tennessee at the Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm taking the Los Angeles Chargers. They've been rolling the last couple weeks, and it looks like they finally figured out their pass game a little bit, which is exciting if you're a Chargers fan, because early in the season they've been highly reliant on the run game, and now that they're able to pass a little more, especially with Justin Herbert at QB, this team looks really solid overall, and the Titans, on the other hand, they do not look solid. I mean, put up a pretty good fight against the Patriots, and they won that game. But still, I mean, it's the Patriots at the end of the day, and I like the Chargers here, man. I think they're a really good team and a sleeper team, I think, for a wild card spot. And yeah, this should be a dominant win for the Chargers.
I'm taking the Chargers as well. The Chargers, or not the Chargers, the Titans' pass defense has been really good. Again, it doesn't matter what team they play, they've been solid. Against the Lions, they were okay. They were not solid against the Bills, but when at times this team defensively in the passing game is really good. So I guess we'll just have to see which defense we get this week. You know, but at the same time, we're gonna, it could come down to the run game. We know the Chargers love to run the ball as well, so you know this could be one of those games where the Chargers just kind of run the ball and then only throw when they need to. But like you said, the Chargers passing game has been coming around these past few weeks. Lad McConkey has been stepping up big. He's been getting into a rhythm a little bit. Quentin Johnson has been looking good in his second year. Starting to come along from those drops and everything that rookie year. So this Chargers team is looking solid, and I think this Chargers team as well, if they win this game, they're in a legit position for a potential wild card spot, and I think that's what they're pushing for as well. Because obviously they're not going to win in division. Kansas City's winning the division, but I think this team is definitely pushing for a wild card spot at a minimum, and they're going to need this win against the Titans in order to keep that rolling. And I'm going to take the Chargers in this matchup. Up next, we have Philadelphia at Dallas.
This is a big game for Dallas. Like I kind of said, they're at that make or break point in their season, and I think this is kind of where it tilts towards break for them. I like the Philadelphia Eagles here. Look, the Eagles are looking like how they looked on that Super Bowl run back in 2022 and at the start of 2023. They look like a dominant team. Their offense is clicking, and I think their defense is one step behind, but they're going to figure it out. This will be a very good week for the Eagles and Eagles fans. Hopefully, it helps Sirianni keep his job. I know Eagles fans are always out for Sirianni's job, no matter what he does, even if they're 6-2, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Eagles. I think the Eagles are to win this week. Cowboys without Dak, it's gonna be a really tough matchup for Dallas.
I'm taking the Eagles. I I don't know what AJ Brown's status is. I'm not sure if he's going to play this week. I'm not sure if he's what his deal is, but either way, I don't think that matters too much. He's considered day to day as of yesterday, so I'm gonna assume there's a high chance he plays this week. And I mean, the Cowboys, they're on life support. They're not going to be with Dak Prescott, so that is going to be not good at all. They gave up 100 yards rushing exactly to Atlanta, and then to the Niners, they gave up 223. And look, Saquon Barkley has been on a tear the past couple of weeks, with insane amount of rushing. So, even if the passing game struggles a little bit for Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley will carry this team 100%. Saquon Barkley is going to have a huge game against this Cowboys team, and Cooper Rush, he may try to make this, competitive, but I just don't think at the end of the day, as a backup quarterback, I think the Eagles are going to be very aggressive on defense, especially in the secondary of trying to intercept balls. And if CeeDee Lamb, like I said last week, gets locked up, this offense is going to be extremely stagnant. So I'm taking the Eagles. They've been looking good the past few weeks as well, and the Cowboys are just not doing good. Up next, we have the New York Jets at Arizona.
This is an interesting matchup. This is a do or die game for the Jets, I feel like. as are most of the games for the rest of the season for them. And I've been really high on the Cardinals all year, but this game feels really different. I feel like the Cardinals they're kind of in a weird spot. They're kind of at the top of their division right now, and no one really expected them to be. They're on that underdog path, but I like I can't bet on the Jets again. I gotta go with the Arizona Cardinals. All right. Jets have been so inconsistent this year, as we can see. Um, you know, the Arizona offense is very good. Okay, Kyler didn't even throw a touchdown pass, and they destroyed the Bears. Wait, who'd they play last week? Am I
The
tripping?
Bears,
Who'd they
yeah.
play last? Okay, yeah, they destroyed the Bears last week against whose defense is considered really good. Like just in general, the Bears defense is arguably a top 10 defense in the league. Jets defense has fallen off recently, and I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be able to dice up this Jets defense. James Conner will have a big game. Kyler Murray is going to be too much for the defense, and it'll probably be a shootout, but it'll be a close game, fun game to watch. At the end of the day, though, I think the Cardinals are going to win.
This might be the only matchup where we have different picks. And I'm going to do what you didn't do, and I'm going to take the New York Jets this game. This game was kind of a 50-50 to me. I think either way, James Conner's going to have a big game. No, I think 4 of these 9 games, I want to say, or 5 of these 9 games, he's had over 100 total yards or 90 total yards. So the Jets defense, running wise, hasn't been the greatest, especially these past couple weeks. I mean, they gave up 106 yards alone to Joe Mixon. Against the Patriots, they gave up 110 total. So I feel like James Conner's going to have a big game on the ground. But I think, granted, it was against the Texans. I feel like this offense, the Jets, something clicked last week. It wasn't good. It wasn't great. It was a little ugly, but that second half, something clicked between Aaron Rodgers and the wide receivers, and I think they're going to be able to get it done on offense because that Arizona Cardinals defense has been iffy at times. I mean, they haven't really played the greatest teams recently. If you look at the past 4 weeks, they played the Packers, which they lost to, but then outside of that, they played the Chargers, they played the Dolphins into his first game back from injury, and they played the Bears. So the defense, I don't know what to expect from them. They could be lights out, this Arizona defense. They could also, be the Arizona defense we saw at the beginning of the season where they gave up a lot of yards and stuff. So I'm taking the Jets. I feel like, though, this is a 50-50 game. It can go either way. But I'm expecting James Conner to have a big impact in this game. And it's going to come down to the Jets defense, how well they decide to play this week. Sunday Night Football, we have Detroit at Houston.
I'm taking the Detroit Lions, sadly. Houston has not been playing great recently. And Nico Collins back this week or next? I believe it's next week, right?
I will check for you.
Either way, I think Detroit wins this game. They've looked really good. They looked good against the Packers for the most part. And I don't know. Texans offense has not looked great recently. And I think they're just not going to be able to keep up with the explosive Lions offense. As much as I want the Texans to win this game, I think this game is going to end up in Detroit's hands. I'm going with Detroit here.
Nico Collins is first eligible to play this game, off of IR. There's nothing on ESPN that is said if he's, playing or not, or has been taken off IR yet. So I think that's still up in the air. Either way, though, I'm taking Detroit. I mean, this offense did not look good against the Houston offense. Did not look good against the Jets. And if Nico Collins 100% doesn't play this week, I think it's kind of the same thing. I think this offense is going to struggle against Detroit. And they're not going to be able to run the ball as effectively against Detroit as they are against the Jets. The Detroit, I want to say, either is the best or has one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. So it's going to be a struggle on offense if they can't, get that passing game going, because the running game is probably going to be very limited in this game. And I think Detroit, they're coming off a big win against the Packers in Lambeau Field. They played very well that game, especially on the defensive side. They only gave up 14 points that entire game. And, Jared Goff, he's been still on that hot streak. He didn't have a whole lot of passing yards last week, but he only had 4 incomplete passes. He's 2 a touchdown, and this Lions team is just clicking on all cylinders, both sides of the ball. So I'm taking the Lions. Monday Night Football, we have Miami at the Los Angeles Rams.
I'm going to take Miami this week. Okay, the Rams, look, they've looked good. I mean, they got Puka back, they got Cooper Kupp back, but Miami, they've been that close in those last 2 games with Tua, and I think this is the week they figure it out. They still really have not gotten Tyreek Hill involved that much, and I think this is the week where they do that. All right, Achane has been good. I think he'll be able to run over the Rams on the ground. Pass game is where it's going to come down to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle making plays. If they can do that, I think they can win this game. Talked about Tre'Davious White being traded. That's just a loss for the Rams in the secondary, just in general. So kind of a good matchup for the Dolphins on the offensive side of the ball. Now, for most of the season, the Dolphins look pretty good on defense. Not so much last week, but they've been good on defense for a lot of the season. And it'll be a tough matchup for them on defense, I think. But I think they'll be able to do enough to get it done. And I like the Dolphins this week.
I'm taking the Rams. It's going to be a question, what does the Rams offense show up? If you look at their schedule, the Rams, they're 4-4, but this team has only given up 21 or more points in one game. It's been 20 points or less in 7 of the 8 games they've played. So it's just going to be, I think this Rams defense is a little underrated. Obviously, Tre'Davious White getting traded is not going to help. So we'll have to see how this affects the secondary. But this Rams defense, is solid. Especially if they can get to Tua. I think Jared Verse is going to be the X factor in this game. If he can get to Tua, it's going to be a bit of a long game for Tua. And it's going to be, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, can Puka Nacua keep a calm head? It's going to be, if they can show up, I think this is going to be a Rams win 100%. They just need to do what they've been doing on offense. They cannot be in a position where they need to struggle, because the Rams defense, from what they've shown, they've had the potential to hold opponents down to, some points, but at the same time, they're just, it's just, can the offense show up at times? That's what they're looking at. Those are the Week 10 predictions. I mean, we only have 2 different predictions, so, we will see how this goes. Moving on, though, to fantasy football. I won this week. My playoff hopes are slimly alive still. So I'm now 4-5 on the season moving into this week.
Yeah, I'm at 7-2, top of the league. I'm feeling good. I snuck out a win with Baker Mayfield on Monday Night Football. He had me nervous through the first 3 quarters, but he pulled through. My team it's looking solid. I'm not gonna lie. Cortland Sutton has been so huge for me the last 2 weeks, which is kind of a crazy thing to say, because he's just not that reliable in fantasy. But I can't rely on him forever. But overall solid performance for my team, 120 points. Not too great compared to what I've been putting up all year, but still enough to win the game, so I'm happy with that. And my playoff odds are looking pretty good. I believe my playoff odds are like in the 90s, so it's pretty solid. Yeah, 91% chance to make playoffs, and the next closest dude is 55%. So I like my odds. All right. That's I'm looking forward to how the season ends out. Maybe I win this league. It'd be fun to win against in a 12-man league against all my friends. Pretty solid.
Yeah, I snuck out this win. Kate Otten for like I think it's the second week in a row has come in clutch. I mean, the past 3 weeks, Kate Otten has gotten 18, 29.1, and 21.7 points. This man has been on an absolute tear without Mike Evans and um, Chris Godwin. I think that's going to continue, obviously, this next week against the Rams. This game was close, though, or my opponent, I essentially gave you sole possession of first place by taking down one of one of the players one of the people at the top of the league. This week, though, I am dropping the Saints defense because they almost sold me last week. They did give me 5 points, but they almost sold me. I should have kept the Jets in. I'm adding the Bears defense. I forgot how they play this week. I'm adding the Bears defense against
New
New
England.
England. I think this is going to be a good matchup, and it's going to be one of those games. I think they can get a defensive touchdown, and they've had pretty solid points. The only game they didn't have good points was against Washington. They had -3, but besides that, the lowest amount of points they've had this entire season outside of that Washington game is 5 points. So now I'm hoping they play good against New England. And I got to decide on this. I think I'm going to take out DJ Moore against New England. I mean, the past couple of weeks, ever since the bye week, or even ever since that game against Carolina, it's just been so bad for DJ Moore. So I think I'm going to put Shakir in over him. And I think I'm facing you this week. So, I need a big game. I probably need to win this game if I want
Oh,
any
hmm.
potential chance of winning or getting a playoff spot.
Yeah, so let's look at our matchup here. I'm projected 115.6 at the moment to your 114.7, but like you said, you're making some roster changes, so that's gonna vary a little bit.
The roster
But
change will put me down zero point 0.2 points
oh, all right. So
projected.
not much of a difference. So I think I have you beat at the running back positions, both RB1 and RB2,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe at QB. Um, just because the Detroit really is not throwing the ball that much. So I think I like my odds there. At receiver, not so much. I mean, Amon-Ra is definitely better than Devontae Smith, unless he has a great week like he did last week. Portland Sutton, like I said, he's kind of on and off, so I don't like that much either. McBride and Otten should be a pretty interesting matchup. You know, both top five tight ends, and we'll see. I think McBride's definitely going to need to score a touchdown against the Jets to keep up with Otten. So I'd give you Otten there. My flex, I don't know if I'm going to keep Keon Coleman in my flex, but right now Mooney's been looking good, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, Darnell
Defense,
Mooney's
I'll
been
probably,
good this year.
yeah. Uh, Defense, I'll probably give you that if you're gonna switch into the Bears defense and kicker. I have the best kicker in the league right now, averaging 13 points a game for the Commanders. So yeah, pretty close matchup. Like you said, you definitely need this game to stay in the playoff hunt. If I'm looking at my team, I don't have many options for flex over Keon Coleman. I can put in Bucky Irving, which I'm not really confident about. I also have Wan'Dale Robinson, Zach Ertz, or Keenan Allen would probably be my other options. Um, yeah, so I might end up keeping Keon Coleman there, but either way, I think I kind of favor you in this matchup just based off who our players are going up against, and I think you have more favorable matchups across the board, but We'll see what happens. Should be a fun matchup. Be fun to watch during the week.
Yeah, we will 100% see what happens. I was honestly kind of thinking about, maybe change or maybe picking up Russell Wilson. But if the thing is with Detroit, if they don't if they're not out to a big like lead, I think they're gonna throw the football. I mean, obviously against Tennessee, the 3 touchdown passes helped me out a lot. I put Goff in last week because I figured Jordan Love is going to struggle a little bit again, coming back with that groin injury. I think he only had 10 points last week, 10 point something. Yeah, he essentially had 1.32 points more than Goff last week. So, I mean, this week they're only projecting Goff for 210 yards and 1.5 touchdowns. So I think he's going to throw the ball more this week than he did last week, or at least have more yards. Because that game also last week, we got to remember that game had rain in it. So that definitely affected, the quarterbacks and throwing the football as well. So this game, I think it's in Houston. It's going to be in a dome as well. So I feel like Goff, the 14 points, I feel like is a little, shadowing. I feel like it's a little too low for the projection, but we'll see. Tyrone Tracy is going to have a monster game. I know that. And then I'm probably going to switch out DJ Moore for Khalil Shakir. I may watch DJ Moore have like 8 touchdowns and like 500 yards. Just watch it. But Shakir, ever since, outside of, him not playing in Houston, the game against Houston and the one game against the Jets, he hasn't been below like 10 points in any game. And, I think it definitely helps with Amari Cooper. The games with Amari Cooper, he's still getting good targets and good catches as well. So I'm probably going to put him in over DJ Moore, and then we'll have to see how the rest of the week goes. And hopefully the Bears defense won't sell me.
Yeah, thinking about waivers this week, I don't think I'm making any moves really. I don't know what I would change. All the good like skill positions for waivers are kind of gone at this point. There's not
Yeah.
much. Raheem Mostert is the top option for all skill positions. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not waivers aren't anything special anymore. So
No, the only
maybe
waiver
the only
thing.
thing that would even be considered, I think, if anyone picks up anyone in our league, it's gonna be Mike Williams. Someone's gonna have faith in Mike Williams go crazy, but I don't think there's gonna be any waiver moves this week, to be honest with you,
I
other
think
than
the only
defenses.
I think the only waiver moves this week are going to be defenses and kickers. If
Yeah.
the kickers have a bye week. Otherwise, I think that's going to be it. That's what I'm doing. I'm picking up the Chicago defense. I like it against New England, and you know, I mean, golly me, the one week I don't put the Jets defense and they go out and get double-digit points. So I mean, that's something. But that's gonna wrap up the fantasy part. Moving on to our fun question. I had one earlier this week. I forgot to write it down, and then I don't remember what happened. So, do you have a fun question, or do you want me to go first?
I do have a fun question.
All right.
Since we're kind of in like it's election day, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of in like the political realm today. So if you had to pick one NFL player to be your president, who would you pick and why?
Well, I mean, this could be very controversial. This could be so I'm thinking this could be so controversial, but I think, hear me out. I think you got to go with Harrison Buckner. Hey man,
Okay.
just just look at the just look at the facts in front of you. That's all I gotta say. That's all I have to say.
All right, solid pick. I'm gonna take a less controversial take here, okay? I'm gonna go with someone strictly based off vibes, all right? Cause a good country's gotta have good vibes, right? So I'm gonna take Jameis Winston as my president for the US. All right, this dude, I mean, he comes in after the Watson injury. He fires up that locker room and he gets the dub against the Ravens. Like, that is such presidential energy right there, man. If anyone can do it, I think Jameis Winston is the prime candidate. All right. He would lead this country to 40 touchdowns and 40 interceptions. Both sides would be happy. It'd be great.
Yeah, that is very solid. Okay, so my fun question then is, you know, we had all these crazy we had all these crazy highlights this season, or not this season, this week. So we already did the Garrett Wilson versus Devonta Smith, but which do you think was better? The the Saquon Barkley, whatever you want to call it, three juke move into the backwards hurdle, or the Garrett Wilson catch?
Okay. The Barkley move might have been the nastiest thing I've ever seen. Okay, that was insane. There's nothing. I've never seen a better move in football, I don't think. That was crazy.
I don't know how he
I
did it.
how does one do that, dude? That's crazy. I think that's a clear answer. I think Barkley has to be the right answer. Clean sweep across the board. Garrett Wilson's catch was pretty good, but I mean that's just next level athleticism from Barkley. I mean, we've known this guy was a beast, but wow, New York was really just holding him back, I guess. So yeah, that was a fantastic move. That was definitely one of the best plays I've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that was that Saquon Barkley juke was insane. I don't think he'll be able to replicate that. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's like a once in like a, not even a lifetime, but like once in a blue moon move.
Yeah.
And like genuinely don't know if he could replicate that again if he tried. Especially when he juked someone out and then he spun and then he backwards hurdle. Like that's insane. The only thing that would have made it crazier is if he obviously didn't get tackled by three players and was able to score on that play. But that was absolutely insane, that play.
I think the Barkley thing is like not even doable in Madden, bro. Like
No, it's not.
that's
I
not even
don't think it
there's not
is.
even a Madden animation for that. That's how you know it's crazy, bro. Like think about that.
I wonder if they will make an animation for that. I doubt it. They'll probably give him like a card with some stupid like amount of juke move or spin move or something. But I mean, yeah, that you can't even do that in Madden or college football. That is going to wrap up week number 10 of midweek meetings. And there were a lot of big, headlines this week, especially because of the trade deadline. A couple coaches got fired, or a coach got fired, some crazy plays and everything this week. And then for predictions, we mostly had the same prediction. So, we'll see how this goes this week. But that is going to wrap up this week's episode of Midweek Meetings. If you guys are watching or listening to it on YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode. If you're watching over on Twitch, feel free to catch us every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on twitch.tv/KnockdownNico or twitch.tv/Pr3ssix, where we do it each episode live. We'll see what's in store for week 10, and we will see you guys when week 11 starts.
See ya.